Hi there, beautiful souls watching. Thank you and welcome. I'm Gabrielle, retired medium in Germany, and I like to share some of my otherworldly experiences and insights. So this one is about the call of the tribe and soul families. Well, I think it's 4 or 5 or even more years ago that I went the last time to a seminary with my much appreciated and beloved teachers of mediumship, where I absolved my trainment. And well, it's always nice to meet the colleagues you were in training with, and that was more or less for me the main reason to go to these seminars for 3 or 4 days around the weekend. But we always needed a place to meet, so we had to go to the hotel where our teachers always used to give their training workshops. And in the end, I thought, why do I have to pay just to meet friends and colleagues? And this was a little bit of a point that I wasn't quite feeling okay with that. And I had the feeling I'm outgrowing not the community of my colleagues and trainees, but maybe also a bit outgrowing the teachers. And that happens because you're not meant, as I also was and am not meant, to stick with something I am outgrowing. So I kind of trait in my life, I always move on. So every few years I lose some friends, or they break away, or I have to break with them because the frequency does not match any longer. That's not a very pleasant experience. Sometimes the friends you thought were friends turn out to be false friends. But I'm not talking about that. I'm digressing, sorry. It's about a message that I got from another co-trainee, ex-trainee, a colleague that was with me on that workshop for the absolved trainees from the mediumship trainment of my teachers. And we're having a lot of fun there, doing all kinds of things, getting talks from our teachers, and doing some group work and also work one-on-one, just perceiving what do you get. So I was sitting there with a man I knew from the trainment, and he was much younger than I am. And when he perceived what he could perceive from me, my aura, from my field, he came up with an interesting description of a picture he got, an inner image in front of his inner eye. And he told me, well, that's interesting. I'm seeing an American school bus in the color blue. And I know these American school buses. We don't have them in Germany. In America, they're usually yellow, and they have this kind of a snout in front of the cabin for the driver. So we don't have that. I found that very interesting, an American school bus in blue. And he said, because these were the words he could perceive or he got from spirit world, it's time for you. It's getting or becoming time to call your tribe. And that was all. And I did not really understand what that meant, although I already knew about soul families. Our soul is kind of a split part from the oversoul that cannot fully incarnate into a human vessel, because the vessel would implode or explode and burn like a little tiny device you hook to a power plant. That's just too much energy. So that's why the oversoul has kind of like a puppet master, several incarnations all at once in parallel worlds on this Earth, in other solar systems, on other planets, and so on. So an oversoul might have up to 20 or even more incarnations, experiences running at the same time. And souls are kind of organized because the whole universe is organized in a divine structure, which is not hierarchy, but it's divine order, and that's a different thing. They are organized via their traits. So I know a few of them because there are many different soul families. Probably 12, because the whole universe is about the number 12. Why do you think Jesus had 12 disciples and he was the 13th in that whole constellation? Or why do you think we have 12 months and 12 hours on the clock? Or 12 is a dozen? Although we have 10 fingers, which is kind of leading automatically to a decimal mathematical system of counting. But I found out that the Sumerians and also the Egyptians counted differently. They counted in a system of 12 because they just used the 3 knuckles, and with the thumb they were counting and multiplicating, and if you take 4 times 3 then you have 12. So that's another rabbit hole one can go into and get stuck there. So back to the point, soul families. There are the seeders that seeded life not only on this planet but in the whole universe. They are very, very ancient soul family. There are the builders, and when I came across, because I'm interested in archaeology, especially forbidden archaeology like Michael Cremo or Billy Carson also are dealing with. And I heard about the ancient builder race that left in our whole solar system, and I think around the whole galaxy and the universe, buildings like standing stones, stone circles, obelisks, and pyramids, and you even find pyramids on Mars. If you only do yourself the favor and research a little bit for yourself, you can easily find there's enough material out there on the internet about these hidden structures which normally not everybody knows about on Mars, on the moon, and on other planetary bodies around our solar system. So the ancient builders always kind of interested me, and I felt some resonance, but nobody knew who they were, why they built these structures, and where they went. So they are also one of the oldest soul families, always incarnating into some beings, maybe here on Earth in humanoid form or on other planetary systems in other physical vessels. And there are the healers, there are the gardeners, the people that love to plant and can talk with the plants and can bond with Mother Earth strongly and deeply. There are the lovers and some others. I found out that I belong to several soul families. There are also the warriors and the ones who care for the animals. And as I love animals, someday a very prominent member of the soul family of the animal lovers showed up in my field, and I got who he was and I understood, oh, that's one of my traits. He is, how to translate his name into English? It is Franciscus from Assisi, who is always depicted with animals, birds, and I think even little children, because they are the same frequency like many animals are, and this frequency is higher as the grown-ups. So I thought, okay, it's time for me to call my tribe. Then I met Franciscus from Assisi and understood, oh, that's my soul tribe. But it's not only that, there are some more, because soul families also organize and come together if their missions combine. So the scientists will kind of bind and work together with the healers, or with how are they called? The people that love knowledge and study everything about knowledge. I'm looking for the word. Sorry. They are. I don't know the word. Sorry, I don't know it in English, but you can find it out. The scholars. Oh, here it's coming. Thank you. So there are combinations on the next level, on the next higher frequency level, of various soul families. So you might have the trait of one and another one and so on. So sometimes the warriors even go together with the healers, because if you have to defend yourself or your planetary system, your race, like the Irma had to do, living on their planet in the star system Vega, on the planet called Avalon, which always touched me, and I get goosebumps right now because it matches so much. This English location called Avalon, so there's a trait as well and a connection. And they were kind of invaded by the Draco reptilians, which are not from this universe. And well, they came and they were very much into thirst for more third-dimensional frequency, so they were into war and conquering and things like that, and they invaded the planet Avalon, the home world of the feline beings that created the human race. So the Irma are a very proud people, like tigers, lions, panthers, and leopards, which we still have in the wild world here on our earth. And a lot of them are incarnated in exactly these body vessels, or in our house cats. That's for them a relaxing incarnation, because they had to go through a lot of horrible stuff. Their world was invaded by these Draco-reptilians, and as they are able to kind of spit fire like the fairy tales tell about dragons, we even have a very funny example of how that can work in our biological system. There is a little beetle, a bug, called the bombardier bug, that has 2 glands at the end of his body, and they are producing 2 different chemicals, and he can shoot out a ray of fluid in which these 2 chemicals mix, and they work like an acid, spraying it directly into the face of the predator that wants to eat them. And it is like burning acid. So the dragons had in their throat 2 glands that when they kind of breathe out and breathed out this this kind of fluid the 2 glands were creating, so that it went into a fluid that had both of them, and in reaction with oxygen in our atmosphere, this turned into fire. So they were really able to breathe out fire and spit fire. And with that, they destroyed and killed many of the wonderful, proud, walking on two legs Irma beings. And I encountered an Irma being when the cat of my neighbor that used to come and visit me, a very special one, a ginger tiger cat, that my neighbor woman called not only Henry, but Sir Henry, you know, like a count from England, because he had this attitude. He was a very proud cat. And he chose my neighbors to be adopted by them, although he probably had people caring for him and a human family. But as I found out, these people moved. So he stayed with his area because that was his, and he just looked for new people to stay with. And because I wanted to travel, I told him when I met him the first time, "Oh, I love you, you're so beautiful, you can come and visit me, but sorry, I cannot adopt you, I want to travel still a little bit." So he took my neighbors and they adopted him. They went with him to the veterinary and all this stuff and cared for him. And I was allowed to be visited by him, which always felt like an honor to me. And when they were on their holidays, I had to care for him. And then one time, exactly when the neighbors, his new owners, were in vacation and he stayed with me, he suddenly, within a few minutes, was dying directly in front of me, and I couldn't do anything on my porch, and I was so shocked. That's the human level. But right after he was dead, and just the dead shell, the empty shell, his body vessel was lying there on my porch, there was boom! A gigantic tiger Irma being with a golden breastplate like from a Roman warrior from the gladiators or something, an armor thing around his chest. He stood in front of me and looked at me. And then I understood, oh, that was the character, the soul that was incarnated in this little house cat. And that was the strength and the attitude I always felt with that Sir Henry, who's gone now, but he isn't gone, because I know his soul, the Irma soul, is carrying on its own path, and I feel really blessed and honored that I was allowed to see that, because usually cats die alone. They kind of hide in some place, and if you're lucky you find them even as the owner. And that he chose me to die in front of me was on the one hand an honor, on the other hand it was kind of a little traumatic shock for me, because I love this cat so much, and it's always hurting and a pain if you have to watch that, cannot do anything about it. And so, okay, I leave it there. So there are the soul families, which are organized in groups, not only one soul family, but 2, 3, or even more. And the thing about the tribe and calling your tribe, I did not understand the message then when I got it. That was 4 or 5 years ago. But now it slowly starts to make sense to me, because my guides told me I should wear blue, although I liked green, which is the color of the heart chakra, and blue is the color of the throat chakra. So as I'm doing my little work here on my channel, talking to you, blue, the color blue is sustaining me via the color, working with my throat chakra. And also I made a video about the color blue and blue beings. The blue beings are the Arcturians, who more or less always cared more about spirituality and spiritual practice than everything else. But as in this universe everything is based on duality, means polar opposites, well, I lost the trait again. Wow, am I getting dementia? I don't know. Please help me, my guides. Help me out. What did I want to say? And how can I post this afterwards with something like that in there? But I have no time to waste and I cannot edit. I don't even know how that works. I'm a non-techie. I just know the basics. So back to the color blue. Oh yes, the Arcturians and the polar opposites. We are living in a dual universe, very well represented by the yin and yang sign, which shows more or less the dance of the two forces. Like in the staff of Hermes, you have the two snakes, and the degraded knowledge or lost knowledge about that you see in the nowadays used symbols for doctors or for pharmacies. Suddenly there is only one snake, no longer two, like representing the DNA and the two polar forces of this universe. And the wings on the upper sphere are gone. There are no more wings. And suddenly the sphere on top of the Hermes staff, or staff of Asclepius, the healer from Greek, it's suddenly cut in half and it's made a chalice for pharmacy. So, okay, here we go. That's only showing how much knowledge is lost and degraded. And I get the impression nearly no one is noticing that. Only me, or hopefully some others as well. To me, all these things, they just jump at me and I see it and I think, oh wow. The wings are lost, the upper sphere is kind of in the Hermes stuff image. It's your mental body and the third eye, which if it opens can really make you fly and give you wings. So the wings are gone. There's only one snake, one serpent, and it's not even a sphere. It's just cut in half like a chalice. Everything is wrong. Half of the knowledge is already lost. As we live in duality, we have, if you look at the human false history, because my guides told me, everything you think you know is wrong. Not a single book on your earth has the true knowledge. A little bit here and a little bit there, but it's mostly falsified and turned upside down by the counter forces that took grip on this world, our wonderful blue planet Earth, our mother. So if you look at history, you see rise and fall of civilizations throughout all the years we can look back. But the history is much older. And as far as I know, when we will have open contact, which is not so far away, it's already starting here and there, moving ahead to the next step, not only having contact with the ready souls and consciousnesses of special or certain human beings on this planet, astrally. And it will get more in the coming 2 years, I think. And also we can have the interference of the counterforce via the false flag alien attack. The aliens are coming, they want to take over our world, which we are kind of programmed and hypnotized into by all the Hollywood movies. So you see rise and fall everywhere, rise and fall and rise and fall and rise and fall, because that's how energy moves in the whole universe. Wave forms. So you have the top of the wave and you have the downfall. That's why you have rise of civilizations and downfall, no matter how good or whatever they were or not. So within all this rise and fall, there are also special kind of problems awaiting every civilization, like also in an individual life. If you come to the third chakra, which is solar plexus, that is also associated with willpower and the introduction of the ego consciousness, to become conscious of yourself. And like everything in itself, it's neutral, but you can of course use it for the positive and you can abuse it for the negative. And we are living now in a world of a lot of greed for power and wealth, and the ego is dominating nearly everything and is just kind of out of border and out of range. That was introduced in the, if you imagine the involution of spirit into matter in a circle, and let's say the involution starts at the head point of a circle, so at the lowest point of the circle, where we are already exiting now towards, like Hindu and Mayan calendar tells us, the golden ages or the Satya Yuga. So it's getting better, although it seems for us in our bodies and our ego minds, it's getting worse and worse. Yes, it has to get worse before the change, and there are big changes ahead of us. And you, as sensitive ones or empaths, will already see and notice and observe that, and you can feel it energy-wise with more and more higher energy coming in from our sun, which is undergoing the same process like every planet and every being in this solar system shortly before the so-called solar flash, which is not to be feared, because if you are prepared and ready energy-wise, that's why the sun is giving out these bursts to work on our DNA and our consciousness via sacred geometry, because the whole universe is built in sacred geometry. So, lost the track again. I digressed too much. Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go again. Please, I need some help from my guides. Where do I want it to go? Okay. Okay, I have to come over that. I don't get it back. So, sorry. That's what's happening quite often. And I still don't know how to deal with that. I should not digress. I should stick to kind of the theme. The theme is about calling the tribe. So in this whole process that we are in right now, our ego has to kind of take back the seat, the back seat of the car, and leave the driver's seat to the soul. And for some that's very difficult because they don't know anything else but their ego. But I'm talking to the souls, not to your egos. That's why I choose my little formula at the beginning, and I welcome you as the beautiful souls that you are. And the soul is connected with you in your heart. So your heart knows and resonates with that soul frequency. And I know there are others out calling their tribes, as it is meant to be in these quickening times before the cycle ends, and we are stepping into a new cycle, which is called ascension, the rapture, or however you want to call it, the shift in consciousness. That's what is ahead of us. So now I know what I'm doing here with my little, I changed it. I don't any longer think it's a ridiculous little channel, because the Elohim in the last channeling kind of let out what I was thinking in my deepest little corner, because I wasn't still sure what I'm really doing here and why I'm doing it. I felt the nudge. They want to do me these kind of videos and share some of the knowledge, although I only have a little bit and I'm scratching on the surface and I'm still trying to get it all together. But they want me to share nevertheless while I'm walking my path. Okay, I learned to listen to them more and more, because it was always turning out well for me when I listened to them, and whenever I did not listen to my guides, it wasn't turning out very well for me, experience-wise. So by this, I'm calling out my tribe. And if you feel resonance, then you know that you are meant. And whatever will come after that, I have some ideas. I had these old memory pictures that I got back from other cycles and other lives. I saw myself standing in the entrance of a very big space ark, and I was just kind of waving in my people, my tribe. And they came via resonance before the big earth changes happened. And then we went up in the space arcs that kind of automatically cared for everything. There is areas with nature in there where there are growing fruits, so we had to eat. Some brought their pets. So we just were above Earth, and I remember looking down onto Earth, and I saw the heavy Earth changes happening at the end of a cycle when a solar flash comes. But this time it's special. It won't be a catastrophic Earth change, so you can relax and maybe smile about the fear-mongering that's out there trying to bring you to fear or keep you there with talking about wars coming and earth changes and the solar flash, we're all toast in 20 I don't know what, you know. No, this time it will be different. I was told that and I believe them. Might not even be a question of belief, because I have these memories and I know a little bit. So I know and remember that we stayed up in the space arcs above Earth, and I looked down and I could see the Earth changes, and to us it seemed to be just a few days. But on Earth, because Earth had a different kind of illusionary time, out in space time is already changing, and the spirit world always told me right from the beginning, time is an illusion, it does not really exist. Okay, that's hard to grasp for my little human head that was already bent like a pretzel with things I came to know and remembered. So it's there was always kind of this mentioned in Ra, the Law of One books, the harvest. So within the cosmic kind of contracts, all the species and races or soul families are not only allowed, but they have to care for their star seeds having their experiences here on Earth. So they provided the space arcs, and when heavy Earth changes were coming at the end of a cycle, they just appeared, and the people felt suddenly drawn to a special place, or even knew they had to go there. And well, every space arc from every race from the universe took their harvest, their star seeds into the arcs to preserve them. And after the Earth changes were over, they came down again and released these people who started kind of from scratch, building up new civilizations, forming communities and planting their food and things like that. And they were provided with the plants from the ark and everything they needed, and they had to take them out when they left the arks and started to populate the earth again after these changes. And another thing about the earth changes is you might have heard about plate tectonic, starting with the first continent called Pangaea, which was one landmass. And if you take all the continents from today and fit them together, you see that they match perfectly. So it was one big landmass in the beginning. But one thing our scientists got wrong, or they're not following through with questioning, they never asked why did Pangaea broke apart into several different continents or parts. And they also thought that water was on this planet right from the beginning. Well, my guides tell me it is not, it was not, and that's kind of untrue. The water came later in via asteroids and comets and via other means from the galactic field around. So in the beginning, Earth was just a kind of rocky planet with nearly no water, and at least not the big oceans that we know today. And as Earth is a living, sentient being, of course it grows within the cycles, the clockwork of the universe. Like you are growing from a child to a teen and then to an adult. And as science says nowadays, when you're grown up, you're not growing any longer in this direction. You're growing more in that direction, which I find kind of funny. Earth already grew several times within these cycles, and nowadays it's nearly 60% larger than it was in the beginning, and the oceans and the water came in later. So whenever the end of a cycle with solar flash and all these earth changes is coming ahead, and the Mayans measured that via their calendars, that's why they built their observatories, to find out when is the time that this will happen again, because they had some memory, they kept it. Nowadays it's lost and nobody knows anything about that any longer. So of course Earth was growing, and it spit out via volcanoes and volcanic activity more lava, which grew more body and more land. So Earth is growing and expanding, and that's the next step now. And Earth knows it. Mother Earth knows that. And yeah, that's what I have to share today with you. And I know I'm only scratching the surface, and I leave out things here and there. And from every video I make after that, I think, oh, I forgot to say this and that. And there's always an overlap. But I don't want to be the slave of these videos and make after that another video with the overlap and just go, you know, by my little list that gets overthrown every new day by my guides and by Spirit World. I have a list where I wrote down what I kind of thought I received to talk about. And I tried to bring it in order, first this, second this. This is how ego, the brain, works. And then they just come and nudge me, talk about Call of the Tribe and the Soul Families. Boom, there goes my list. Okay. Sometimes it's very hard to be flexible like that, because I still think I need a little bit of order or construct to follow through. But I try to adjust, because Yeshua said what I really love: leave your truth from today for the truth of tomorrow, which is really very important. If you think you know something, then you're closing yourself. That's why Socrates, the old Greek, said, I know that I don't know. And that's, for the ego, nearly unbearable as a statement, but from the perspective of the soul, the best place to start, to open up, to receive knowledge and learn more and grow. And you have to get rid of some of the old paradigms that obviously are wrong and do not work any longer. If you stick to that, then you're kind of crystallizing. And maybe you sometimes see on the street, I like to observe and watch a lot, you see these kind of crystallized people. They still dress like 30 years ago, and their face is showing their attitude like, this expression that's negative. And I remember, that's the last thing to share. I remember in school when I had Latin, so that was the Roman culture already many decades ago. We had to translate a text from whomever, don't remember, not important, where they were kind of reclaiming and lamenting about the youth that has lost all manners and does not respect the old and their wisdom any longer. And sitting in the class translating that sentence or that passage in the Latin school book, I thought by myself, these are exactly the words of my parents and my grandparents. And they did not change from the words from the Romans. So the Romans had the same kind of observation that while culture is kind of progressing, sometimes it's regressing. We are told that the culture and the consciousness and the civilizations advanced by time. But if you look at for example, South American buildings with the monumental stones, the monolithic polygonal buildings of these ancients in Mesoamerica, you can clearly see that the lowest strata of construction has the big monoliths, and above that the work gets lesser and lesser and worse and worse. There are smaller blocks. They don't know how to do the polygonal thing to kind of prevent the destruction via earthquakes, because they can move with the movement of Mother Earth. And just on top you find this brick wall, which is kind of the lowest, another word missing, the lowest technique of construction. So you can clearly see that these ancient ones were more advanced and they knew things we don't know any longer and we have forgotten. So it's not like our history and scientists tell us, you advanced, now you're technically so advanced and have progress and blah, blah, blah. It's just vice versa, because it was the involution of spirit into matter, and that was degradation, that meant to degrade. So the Lemurians, they were living in 5D. They were in harmony with nature, the planet, Mother Earth, the plants, the animals. And the Atlanteans, whom everybody is talking about now, as if there is nothing else, we're still in the Atlantean mindset, greedy for power and technology, and instead of using our telepathic senses and training with them, we have our cell phone, which does the work for us, so we're not even able to use our visualization or other of the psychic skills. You can phone anyone you like with your cell phone. You can get knowledge via Googling, although there's not real knowledge coming out. There's a lot falsification also if you Google something nowadays. I remember the times when I looked up the name of a person which I wanted to find the homepage of and look directly at it. In, I think, some years before, the name showed up at first. If I do that today, the algorithm has changed so much that I get 100 pages from others like LinkedIn and whatever, blah, 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 about them, but not they themselves, their own homepage. This to me is already speaking volumes. So the Atlanteans did not really master the third of the lower chakras, which is the solar plexus, the willpower, introduction of ego, and also opening the road for abuse of the ego, and we're still in there. But luckily we're heading up, because the lowest point of the involution of spirit into matter is now kind of, we're going up again. We are, as many others tell, going back to the fifth dimension, which still exists. It's not gone, and the Lemurians are still there, at least some of them. So it will be very interesting, and I'm looking forward what will happen, and it's all playing out right now. So we're in the most adventurous times now. Sometimes it's a bit unnerving and annoying, I know. I have to struggle with that as well sometimes, because I'm not perfect and I'm not finished, because you will, and I, and no one of us will ever finish this journey. There is no goal to reach. And as Spirit World says, we never even left Source. This is just a simulation, an imagination where we make kind of freaking real feeling experiences. But in the grand scale of time that does not really exist, these are just 8 minutes. And we fill them up with drama and whatever. If it wouldn't be that sad sometimes, it's kind of hilarious what we make in 8 minutes of catastrophes and drama and whatever. So it's always a good idea to broaden your horizon and go and research things for yourself. I can only drop breadcrumbs here and there, and if you resonate with something of that, then go with it and walk your own path, do your own homework, do your own research, because if you're doing that, then you are following your passion. And that will always guide you to where you need to go. And if you meet another passion underway that attracts you more, then follow that and don't stick with the old things. Don't cling to something that wants to leave you because you're already outgrown of that. That is causing resistance, but we humans tend to do that, and resistance can only be overcome, if I show it like that, by some kind of dam breaking event that causes, in the first instant, even more trouble. So just let it flow and go with the flow, and prepare to leave your truth from today for the truth of tomorrow. Ooh, finally, I'm done. Thank you. That was kind of a bit of a hard thing for me, because I was digressing so much, but they wanted to pack all this into that, and I'm just the poor vessel to try to talk about things we're not really quite ready, but we're going towards it. That's what I know for sure. I can feel it, I know it, and I get proof of that every day. So, thank you for listening, beautiful souls. I wish you all the best on your paths. Remember, you belong to a tribe. If you feel attracted, then go there. If you resonate with my little channel or my information, then maybe we're of the same soul tribe. I already met some of my soul sisters in this life from another mother, and you will feel that because it's just flowing, and you don't need the normal blah 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 about the price of the eggs and the weather and the politicians and all that. You just have an understanding on a higher level, because if consciousness is growing, and we're going up to a higher consciousness now, the 4 or 5D consciousness, then you can have a look below to all the consciousness states that were kind of below that one that you have right now. Your state of consciousness is your frequency state, and your frequency is the entrance. So it's important how you vibrate and what and where your frequency is. But you cannot have, because you're not yet there, you cannot have a look into the higher consciousness above you, because you're just not matching the frequency. That's why it's all about sound and frequency, and that's very important as well. Well, enough now of that. I'm really, it's too much for me. I would like to leave it here, and although I know it's incomplete, there are breadcrumbs for you. So do with it what you want, and always, only, I don't say it every time, but I mean it, only take what resonates with you, because it's about a match of frequency. And not believing anything what other people tell you. You don't know their frequency state. Some are really misleading on purpose. Even some groups are. But they have on their banner, we are the right ones, we have the only truth. No, there is not only one truth. We are not yet a united consciousness of humanity. We are still single consciousnesses trying to find their tribes, their soul families, the members, and unite there in smaller groups, kind of like trying unity consciousness in smaller groups at first, before we can go into the next step to be a united consciousness of all humans on this planet Earth. So, now I'm really going. Thank you, dear souls, beautiful souls, for watching, and blessings, love, and light onto your soul path. Bye.